Hello, everyone, from the Matt Morse Digital Studio here in Fresno, California. This is the Beem and Dean Show, episode 60, with the sports director of KC24 and CBS 47, the voice of the FCC Rams, Scott Bemis. I'm Dean Shiro. We had an exciting weekend. Really quick, we want to do a little update here. Dogs Aztecs this weekend set for 12:30. We got a 12:30 start, a day game actually. Yeah. Scott's going to give us a little bit more insight on Fresno State in just a second. The Dodgers wait around for the winner of tonight's ALCS Game 7 between the Blue Jays and the Mariners. Shohei had a historic night on Friday, and we had some bad luck on our contests. I'll let Scotty go first on a couple of his, and I'll go on mine. So, Scotty, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dean. Appreciate it. It's good to be here.
It's good to have you.
Here. Yeah, another fun week of sports wagering here on the Beem and Dean Show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, how about that roller coaster that was the Bronco game? First off, I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. I actually got a push, I guess, on my teaser, was it?
You got a push.
Yeah. And
a win and a push.
A separate teaser wager. I actually got a win on that, which is, amazing. Although, on Coming in Hot,
might as well just show it really quick. Yeah. So it's number 7 there. He bought it down to -1. For 31.25, he got a win and a push. I mean, it was 19-0 in the fourth quarter, so he gets 18.75 out of it. I rounded up to about 60%.
Okay.
So anyway,
go ahead. The Chiefs was one of those just easy streets. That I looked like a genius on that.
That was over like at the 5-minute mark of the game. But yeah, go ahead.
Did you hear that stat, by the way, that the Chiefs had 30 first downs and the Raiders ran only 30 total plays?
Oh my God, I did not see that.
Yeah, that was crazy. That's crazy. But anyways, okay, I'm looking at my college plays, and I'm not doing well. I'll be the first to admit it. I hope haven't been following me the last couple of weeks. Hopefully it'll turn around at some point. I'm getting a little desperate here because it is a monthly competition against my man Dean, who's tough to beat. And so I was getting a little desperate with some parlays and this and that, but I believed in all my picks still over the weekend, but it just feels like nothing's going my way right now. That Duke game, I don't know if you watched it. So I had Duke money line against Georgia Tech.
Yes.
So early in that game, Duke is completely controlling the action. In fact, I think they were dominating total yardage in the first half and everything else. So they go all the way down the field, like on like a 95-yard drive or whatever it is, get down to the 3-yard line, and then on a zone replay where if the quarterback keeps it, he's going to walk into the end zone. They have a fumble with the mesh, picked up by Georgia Tech, 96 yards the other way.
All the way down the other way.
Once that happens, you're done, Dean, right? You're done when you've got an underdog. I mean, they weren't a betting underdog. They were actually the favorite in that game, but a team that, at least according to the rankings, right, was an underdog. But then I lose that one. I will say South Carolina's been a bad pick the last couple of weeks. They're kind of like that, girlfriend or boyfriend that you think they are going to change at some point. Like on paper, they look okay.
And they don't.
But they have a few things about them that you don't like maybe. But you're like, oh, they'll change. They'll get better. South Carolina is who they are. They're not getting that much better. I keep going to the window with South Carolina, and I keep coming up empty. So I'm off of South Carolina, I think. Although I was tempted this week because they're getting like 2 touchdowns at home against Alabama to maybe give it out again, but I haven't done it yet.
I got to get into my dog of the week because it should have barked. Oh my God! I mean, I don't even know how to even start this out. I mean, Mississippi's up 9 in the fourth quarter at Georgia. In the fourth quarter, rolling. And then Georgia scores 17 straight, and I lose my bet by 0.5 just for the cover. I mean, the outright win was there too. Yeah. It's just, come on, Lane. Lane, I need you to help me out here. What the hell's going on?
That's the hard part about having underdogs on the money line is that they actually have to find a way to win the football game, Dean. And it's really hard to do sometimes. And so I think didn't Georgia scored like on almost every possession that they had in that game, I think it was, or something like that. So
they scored like almost the whole time.
I didn't have a chance to see it.
They scored almost the whole time. Yeah. So there you go, Scotty. You're good now. We got a little camera adjustment there. There we go. We're just getting so passionate. We're getting so into it. We're banging the table and the cameras are moving. So, but anyway, you guys got to see the clock. It's 12:34 on a Monday. So, but that was just, I mean, Georgia was just unconscious in that fourth quarter and just really cost me. So, let's just talk about the Dogs real quick. So we got this big game against San Diego State real quick. You had Bulldog Insider last night. I know you had Jackson Moore on and Angelique and Dylan.
And Jeff Tedford was on last night as well.
Yeah, that's right. The Tedford thing was great too. And he's also going to be doing some baller stuff with you too, with Paul Loeffler as well. So let's just go over the San Diego State game really quick and unpack what we know.
Well, first off, I want to send a message to the Red Wave, okay? Because you get a 12:30 p.m. kickoff out at Valley Children's Stadium, and you hear all the time from fans because we've been to a number of Bulldog games, right, where you see it in the second half, and usually there's 7 p.m. kickoffs or 7:30 kickoffs here in Fresno for obvious reasons, especially, in late August or September when it's really hot here. Yep. And so, they make them night starts, plus for TV. Yep. They like having that nighttime window. You got a 12:30 kickoff, and fans say all the time, well, I would stay for the entire game if it was a 12:30 kickoff. I want 40,000 people in the seats until the final whistle of that Fresno State game on Saturday. There's no excuses this time.
No excuse. I want to show this. 71 degrees and cloudy on Saturday. You guys see that? Let me put that closer. There you go.
And the Dogs are going to need you, too. That's the thing. Because San Diego State is coming in with a ton of momentum, and the Dogs obviously not so much momentum after that loss at Colorado State. Coming off a bye week. They added an extra practice during the bye week. Sure. You could tell Coach Jentz on a little bit of an edge, I think, at today's press conference. You could tell, he's still very cordial with the media, but you could tell he was back to work. He was not happy with how his team performed last time out against Colorado State, and he knows he's got a big challenge ahead of him. I think this will be kind of a defensive battle Saturday, at Valley Children's Stadium. San Diego State has the top-ranked defense in the league. Fresno State's also up there both in points allowed and in total yardage allowed. So points are going to be at a premium in this one, I believe.
Sure.
Dogs might have to get a couple turnovers in this game. Yeah. Is what I'm thinking, to kind of swing things, to give themselves a short field, maybe a big special teams play, something like that, to kind of leave that stadium with the Oil Count Trophy in their hands, because San Diego State is playing well, and they have found a little bit more offensively this year.
That's really what Sean Lewis is known for, though. I mean, that's why we brought him to Colorado, because he's a brilliant offensive mind. But what they're doing on defense this year is crazy.
Yeah, they had a bunch of guys coming back. I remember I gave them out as like a sleeper in the Mountain West.
You did?
They were 30-1 before the season. I honestly didn't know a ton about them because you have so many transfers coming in and this and that. But I saw that they had a big portion of their defense coming back. I think they had like 10 returning starters on D or something like that, which is kind of crazy in this day and age for college football.
It's crazy for any team to have more than like 7 or 8 starters back.
Coach Jentz was saying they got a stud at defensive end. I think they got a stud corner, both like preseason all-conference picks. They shut out Nevada last time out. Well, almost did. For most of that game, they did, until it was garbage time, and they had like their reserves in the game. Yeah. So their defense is solid, but as I said, they're getting some explosive plays offensively this year, and they are a force to be reckoned with this year in the Mountain West. This is going to be a great test for Fresno State. I think the Dogs will show up. I think this is going to be a heck of a football game, on Saturday afternoon. Yeah. Could come down, again, to a big play in the fourth quarter. And what swings games sometimes in the fourth quarter? The crowd. The crowd can swing a game in the fourth quarter, making a ton of noise. When San Diego State has the ball. The other thing is, I heard somebody put this out there, Cam Worrell this year. Red Wave, don't do the wave when Fresno State is on offense.
What are they thinking?
You're making noise when Fresno State's on offense.
That's when you need to...
Quiet down.
Let's do it when San Diego State's got the ball, right?
I do like the nostalgia of the wave. I think it's kind of fun when it's out there.
Oh, the Fresno fans are good at it too.
Yeah, they're really
good at it.
But anyways, Dean, this is going to be a heck of a football game. I'm looking forward to it. Starts a stretch for Fresno State these next 2 weeks, which is huge. Yeah. If they want to be in the conversation for a Mountain West title, probably got to go 2-0, beating San Diego State at home, and then they go to Boise the following week.
We saw what Boise did to undefeated UNLV over the weekend. They completely demolished them. All right, let's get into our coming in hot. All right, Scotty, right back on college football again. We had some news happen yesterday. We had Florida's Billy Napier get fired, and Colorado State's Jay Norvell get fired. And let's be honest, another Norvell, Mike Norvell, after losing to Stanford at the Farm, is on the hot seat as well, amongst other coaches. My question to you is, so the Florida AD used their bye week to do this termination after a win. They beat Mississippi State 23-21. I just have a little bit of a problem with it. Why are we using the bye week to kind of do it? Either you do it, once the season's over, or we find another spot. That's just my opinion on it. I'll let you chime in.
Well, I'll just tell you why I think they do it during the bye week, right? They want to have a little extra time for everything to get worked out. figure out the interim coach and for the interim coach to kind of get established there and install his whatever it is, culture or any changes that he will be making to the program. It gives them a little extra time, and it kind of feels like a fresh start, I guess, during the bye week. But I think it's an example, Dean. You were when you said you were going to make this year coming in hot. That you don't know why all these coaches are getting fired this early in the season,
right?
And the pressure in college football has gone up dramatically. I think to win right away. It's always been there to some degree. I'm not trying to say that it hasn't been.
No, but it's been
even gotten ramped up with NIL, revenue sharing coming.
Transfer portal.
These ADs, these administrations, no, they've got to win. They've got to keep the checks coming in. If they want to keep winning, first of all, but just to keep the operation kind of running along, keeping the boosters happy, keeping those people who can donate to the program, continuing to support the program. You got to win now, and they're not waiting any longer. And I think those voices, those boosters and people like that outside of the program who are kind of attached to the program a little bit, their voices have become more meaningful now because of the financial component that they bring to the program, that I think their voice matters a little bit more. And sometimes we know they are very reactive, right? And they can get frustrated very quickly. They don't always see the long game. And year to year, it's so different now that you, in theory, could have a roster good enough to make a huge jump from one year to the next. It's not exactly, you're not having time really to build programs anymore.
No.
Like coaches who would be there for 4 or 5 years, build through high school recruits and this and that. You got to bring in transfers. You got to win right away. And when you don't, they're quick, I think, to say, we got to go in a different direction.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I do agree. But, I mean, some of these athletic directors, though, they did these initial hires, and there's no repercussions for them. Like, it's like, wait a second, you know, in business, if you make a bad hire, then you're responsible to your manager, your further manager. So these ADs like survive, like they're like cockroaches. They survive like these bad hires, bad contracts, horrible contracts, 10-year contracts. I heard an interesting point the other day. Someone mentioned, why are they giving 10-year contracts to college coaches at this point? At the most, they should be giving 4 to 5 years because these coaches aren't staying. They just gave Cignetti like 10 years, but he also has outs that he can get out of this contract, obviously with money. So these ADs need to be held, I think, further responsible as well. And then, like I said, my point on the bye week is like poor Florida, like Billy Napier actually won his game this week. You know, he survived. And they actually did beat Texas at home too. So I'm not saying that Billy Napier is the best coach in the world, but you know, I think he earned his spot to stay at least through the season. Now a guy like Mike Norvell, who's lost 4 straight ACC games, hasn't won an ACC game in over a year. Maybe not. So it's just one of those things where it can go either way. So I'll turn it over.
You know, I kind of see both sides of it, Dean. I'm with you in the sense of if you win a game like Florida did. Who did Florida beat this weekend?
Mississippi State.
Okay.
By 2 at home.
If you win a game, it seems like a weird time to then let go of your coach.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is that if you are going to get rid of him at the end of the season, if you've already come to that determination, why keep him on as a lame duck coach at that point?
Well, don't you think Florida State's done this at this point? They said they were going to reassess. They just came out today and said they're going to reassess at the end of the season. Well, they're just hanging this guy on. You know they're getting rid of him.
Well, maybe they are, but I think if you asked them, they would at least think in their mind that maybe, you know, he can get it turned around and maybe he could stay on for another year. Their statement today saying that they're going to reassess at the end of the year leads me to believe that they don't necessarily want to pull the trigger on firing him just yet. The AD or the administration, that they're getting a ton of external pressure on that. So almost to appease them, they give out, we're going to reassess this at the end of the year.
And some of these buyouts are so large, too. They got to consider that as well, even if you spread it out over 7 to 10 years.
Well, that's true. The thing about like Florida's and Florida State's, places with that kind of tradition, you know, and are used to winning at places like that and places that have money as well and are big conferences. If you keep the coach on also and say he kind of turns things around a little bit. Now, sure, that's what you want, sort of. But do you really want that? Because
a lot of the fans don't.
Right. At Florida, the fan base is already ready to move on. No matter what Billy Napier does for the rest of the season, if he were to stay on as head coach, they want to go in a different direction.
Sure.
So are you playing a little bit of a risky business there by keeping him on? What happens if the team catches fire maybe and they win, you know, for their last 5 games or something like that. So now they're sitting there at like 6-6 or 7-5 at the end of the year, and you're kind of in no man's land
That's
again, right?
happened before with lame duck coaches before who have taken it down to the wire and won conferences, or at least been in conference championship contention, we'll say, right?
Yeah, no, and because you see sometimes players rally around those guys because that coach-player bond still is strong. I mean, these are usually coaches that have brought them in to those universities. The players themselves, I don't think, are sitting there wanting their coach fired, right? There's probably a couple that are disgruntled, but the majority, I think, are still probably believing in their head coach.
They were probably recruited by him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you get my point of if they turn it around, now you're in a weird situation. Because he's done a decent job in the last half of the season, but you were already ready to move on 5 games in.
Yeah.
And so that's probably what happened at Florida. But it does seem a little weird to fire a coach after he wins a game.
After a big W. Yeah, there you go. Okay, really quick. Let's get to your hot take really quick. Giants-Broncos yesterday. The epic collapse by the poor New York Giants. But there was a late pass interference call that you wanted to comment on, and possibly a rule change that Professor Bemis is looking at.
I mean, this is something that's just been bothering me for a long time. About pass interference in the NFL. It is way too penal on every single pass interference call. So Broncos ended up winning the game, but epic comeback. But they're up, I think they're up 4 with like about a minute left. The Giants are driving. It's a 3rd and long, I think it is at this time, either 3rd or 2nd and long, I can't remember. They throw a deep ball deep down the right sideline, and it's a very questionable pass interference call, in my opinion. One of those deep balls where the receiver comes back to the ball because it's underthrown. The DB is turning around, in my opinion, as the ball gets there, which is what you ask the DB to do.
Sure.
And then he runs into the receiver. But I think if the DB has turned around, and I think most rules officials would agree, he has just as much right to that football at that point as the receiver does, if he's turned around and looking at the football.
Okay.
And so it was very questionable. Very questionable.
So is it the spot foul issue that you don't like?
So here's what I don't like.
Okay.
This is a 50-yard penalty.
Yes.
Right? It's a super questionable call. I mean, it could go either way on this. And yet, this basically sets up the Giants with a 1st and goal at that point. Sure. I mean, I had a teaser leg on the Broncos, so I wanted things to work out for the Broncos in that case. But I would have been saying this either way. I've said this before about pass interference. There should be degrees of pass interference. Not every pass interference in the NFL should be a 50-yard penalty, because some of these things are they're up in the air whether they should be pass interference, right? To me, I like the 15-yard penalty in college football.
That was going to be my question. Is that what you like?
I like that. So here's what I think. I think there should be like major pass interference, minor pass interference. Kind of like running into the kicker, roughing the kicker, right?
So
if a DB just absolutely assaults, like a receiver in the end zone, or like on a long pass, and it's clear, or he's beat and he kind of tackles the guy because he knows, that he's beat.
Yeah.
You can make it a spot foul.
Okay.
At that point. But some of these that are kind of up in the air or this and that, you're not sure. I mean, and there wasn't
15-yard degree.
Yeah, like a 15-yard degree. It's just too penal a penalty.
I agree.
And I don't know. It just turns too many games on a pass interference on a deep ball in the end zone where suddenly a team's set up with a 1st and goal in that situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I do. I think there should be degrees to it as well. I don't know if Roger Goodell's going to agree with us, but we're going to throw it out there. Let's just go over a couple of things. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. Just a couple college football storylines that we haven't touched on yet. USC, falls again on the road. We talked about Georgia scoring 17 late to beat Ole Miss. Stanford won the stunner against Florida State.
Did you stay up for that game?
Huh?
Did you watch the end of that Stanford game?
I stayed up for the whole thing.
That was
unbelievable.
A wild finish.
That was a wild finish at the goal line. Yeah. I mean, did you think he crossed?
I think if they had the right camera angle, I think he scored.
I think Sachet crossed. I think he crossed,
but I don't
too.
think they could have overturned the call because they didn't have a definitive look at it.
They really didn't. And you have to, since the ruling on the field was that he didn't cross, you have to have definitive video evidence to prove otherwise. And I think that was the issue.
But how about the play, a few plays before that where they throw it deep with no timeouts and like 9 seconds remaining, they get a 50-yard pass, down to the whatever it was, the 3-yard line or 8-yard line. I can't remember exactly where it was.
It was like inside the 10. And that's the beauty of that rule, though, in college where the clock stops.
But here's what
I'm
saying.
As opposed to the NFL.
Here's what I'm saying, Dean. They stop the clock in that situation.
Yes, they do.
There is no way that Florida State, if the officials had not stopped the clock, and that's it. Why did they stop the clock right
Well,
there?
it was a first down. You had to wait for the chains to move.
There was some other reason that they completely stopped the clock and let Florida State get organized before they started running the clock again.
Oh, okay. I
think
didn't
it might have been
catch
that they were like reviewing the play, or there was something about it. But I know what it was.
What?
The clock operator initially it went to 0. Right?
That's what it was.
The officials blow the whistle, but when he got tackled, there was like 2 seconds on the clock.
There was.
That offense is going to have to run 50 yards, and the ball should, in theory, get spotted in maybe the next 5 or 6 seconds.
Yeah,
right. And the clock will start winding again.
Right.
It would have been very, very unlikely that they would have been able to stop the clock in time.
It was crazy.
And so they stopped the clock because the clock operator messes up in that situation. But you know what cracked me up? And this may be a reason that Norvell may deserve to lose his job.
Yeah.
He's over there. He looks confused at that point. It's clear to me they're putting time back on the clock.
Yeah.
But his offense almost didn't get the next play off because they weren't necessarily ready. Remember the snap caught the quarterback off guard. It went rolling behind him.
It did.
They ended up getting a pass interference call in the end zone. It was wild.
Right, so they got one last on time down. We did have a play in that Giants-Broncos game yesterday where the clock didn't stop and the guys didn't get on side, and they actually got an offside penalty.
Yeah.
The defensive lineman did not get back on proper side by the time the Broncos snapped the ball. So, and then really quick, Fresno State, lost to Colorado State really quick, a couple weeks ago, and then Hawaii goes into Fort Collins and makes it look easy, and then Jay Norvell loses his job. So, any thoughts on maybe where, if you're Colorado State, where do you go really quick?
Well, yeah, I don't really know what to say. I mean, there were some big expectations there preseason, or at least they were picked top 5, I believe, in the preseason poll.
Well, they lost their quarterback Nicolosi, or he got benched or something.
He was benched.
He was a pretty darn good player, though. I mean, he gave Colorado fits 2 years ago. So I don't know what happened there, but
Jay Norvell came from Nevada.
He came from Nevada
to Colorado State. I think it's another example of what we're talking about.
But their AD actually mentioned the Pac-12. Like, we're going to a new conference next year. We want to be relevant in it. We want to be a big dog in this conference, and we can't have what we have going on.
So it's kind of like what we're talking about, right? I mean, there are big expectations for these schools.
He had 4 years, though.
Win now, is just becoming more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
And, if you're not producing at the level that, keeps the boosters happy and everybody else happy, then, you're going to be gone.
We got like 2 minutes left for NFL really quick before we got to get to our bets. But, the Chiefs are getting better. You and I mentioned Drake May. Dude's for real. Daniel Jones, again, the Giants wonder what happened there. The Colts are really, really good. The Dolphins are really, really bad. The Niners now have an identity with Christian McCaffrey. He's fully healthy, and their run game was staunch last night. I was super impressed with them. Any thoughts on the NFL really quick?
Yeah, I said a couple weeks ago, after that loss to the Jaguars, that I really liked what I saw out of the Chiefs offense on that in that Monday night game.
Yeah.
And look out for the Chiefs. That offense is humming again. Especially with all their weapons back. Mahomes looks incredibly healthy. He's using his legs way more than I've seen him use them in recent years. They have so many weapons now. Travis Kelce is just finding himself open sometimes with nobody around him.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, he doesn't really make a move ever. He just kind of runs out there and finds an open space, and Mahomes gets him the ball.
Now they have Rashee Rice back from suspension. So
they do have Rashee back, and and it's fun. It can be fun when the Chiefs have it humming. And we saw a couple examples of like trick plays on Saturday. I don't know if you saw that game that play at the goal line, where they brought in Minshew, at backup quarterback, and had Mahomes actually lining up as a running back in a 3-point stance. It ended up getting nullified because of penalty, but it's fun with Andy Reid. And I can see why people love playing for Andy Reid because he keeps it fun.
Yeah, our assignment manager, Brian Matthews, shot something out to our group yesterday. I wonder how soon Pete Carroll, what's Pete Carroll's buyout and how soon could that happen? So
what do you think about the Niners, though? Got a lot of Niner fans in this area, obviously. Winning without Brock Purdy at this point.
Well, Mac Jones has been great. Honestly, Mac's been great. He's run the offense effectively. He can throw the ball when he needs to, but they also run, and he ran. When they needed to get a first down, who did they go to, last night in that game? They went to McCaffrey and then Mac Jones with some quarterback runs and a scramble. So they really pretty much ran the clock out on the Falcons, So, yeah, you got that going on. The Dolphins with our man, Mike McDonald. What's
Mike McDaniel.
McDaniel.
Yeah. So, that's another thing that's kind of interesting about the NFL, right? And how it's what have you done for me lately kind of league.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel, a couple years ago, when the Dolphins kind of had it going, that offense was putting up big numbers. Tua looked great. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the whole deal, the running backs, all that stuff. Mike McDaniel's quirkiness was kind of looked upon as, oh, look at that. It's so cool. Someone who's a little different as a head coach, right? And I still kind of feel that way about Mike McDaniel in a way. I don't like that everybody has to be all this cookie cutter all the time and saying things a certain way. Yeah. Because Mike McDaniel can look a little odd at times at press conferences. It doesn't always come out perfectly what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
But now you see that being used against him, and people saying, I don't think this guy really is ready, or really carries himself like a head coach, and has he lost the locker room and all this stuff. And, I don't know if he's lost the locker room. I just think the NFL, things can change so quickly. And if you're losing Tyreek Hill, Tua, I think the jury's still out on Tua just as a top half of the league quarterback anyways.
He just keeps turning the ball over,
He needs
Scott.
weapons. Well, he needs weapons around him. He is so built on timing because he's not really that elusive that he needs, receivers that are threatening defenses, right? And when he doesn't have it and he starts forcing things, turnovers can happen.
Yeah, and then they lost their running game. Mostert was so good last year, and now he's a Raider. And, honestly, they just don't have the running game. A-Chain's okay, but he's kind of a hybrid receiver running back. So, anyway, let's get into our money plays. All right, we kind of covered it a little bit at the beginning of the show, but our contest continues. Scott and I start with $1,000 of fictitious money. We showed Scott earlier, not a super bad week. He went 3 and 4. He tried with a massive parlay with spreads. It unfortunately didn't happen. We kind of already went over some of those. The Air Force one was tough too. I think they won by 3. So that
they were up 10, by the way, late in that game.
Another bad beat, right?
Wyoming decided to put a touchdown in with like a minute and a half to go on me. But
exactly,
hey, it happens. What are you gonna do?
Let's move on. Let's show what you got this week. So,
all right, here's what I'm gonna do.
All right,
okay, I'm slowing down a little bit, Dean, because I've only got 280 to play with here, and we've got several more shows this month. So I got to make sure that I have a little bit of money left, for the remaining shows. Okay, I'm gonna try to kind of slowly work myself back up a little bit here with some plays. I'll probably have some more plays for you on Thursday, maybe a few more.
Great.
But I'm going to throw in a baseball play tonight. We got a Game 7 tonight in baseball. And this is going to be a really, really expert handicap here, Dean. Basically, Game 7s, everybody's tight. I'm going with the under.
I like it.
I
like it.
Hockey, baseball, NBA, Game 7s, I always tend to lean under, and
it
usually, pays out for you.
Yep.
Memphis getting 4 at home against South Florida, plus Memphis coming off getting embarrassed. Yeah. In a loss.
By the Trent Dilfer-Less UAB.
Yeah, by UAB.
You know who was coaching UAB? It's Chris Mortensen's son.
Yeah,
crazy. So shout out to him. What a great win for him.
This is a get right spot in my opinion for Memphis, who still is one of the best teams in that conference, along with South Florida.
Okay.
Iowa State at home off a bye week against BYU, coming off a rivalry win. I'm going to take, I only got to lay minus 135 on the money line.
I like it.
You're asking a lot for BYU to go into Ames, Iowa and get a win there. And then
Washington State.
Washington State's been a little under the radar, Dean. I know they haven't been able to get the win.
Right.
But they've
been in both those
at
games.
Ole Miss 2 weeks ago. They were winning at Virginia. Both those teams, obviously, Ole Miss ranked. Virginia was ranked as well.
Agreed.
Late in the fourth quarter of both those games. Toledo's been kind of hit and miss this year. I think Washington State's still hoping for a bowl game. They need every win they can get. So I'm gonna roll with the Cougars there.
All right. Well, here's mine. Don't have a whole lot of time. I lost most of mine. I did get one. It's kind of saved me a little bit. So still over 1,000. I got the $100 pending on the Dodgers still to get 225 there. So here's what I got. I shortened my list down too because there's not a lot going on. I took the Blue Jays at home, Game 7 against Seattle. I probably should have taken the under like you did, but did something there. Got a couple of NFL parlays, just Lions Seahawks money line and then Lions Seahawks spread, kind of split it out. Have an NHL parlay, and then we got NBA starting tomorrow night. The Thunder defending their championship. Have them covering that spread, and then
I totally forgot that we have NBA this week.
WNBA, not WNBA, another NBA right after that. So, all right. Well, anyway, we're out of time. Scotty and I will be back on Thursday. We'll have a lot more plays for you. This has been the Beam and Dean Show.